All right, so as of this morning, I just rolled out my coaching program for people trying to get the OSCP, or people that are trying to be a threat hunter, or people that are trying to get into the career field, etc. This slide deck that I'm about to present to everyone is one of the slides that I presented in one of my coaching calls, which I can't lie to you, this slide deck is pretty corny. Don't look at it. Don't judge it. It's really here to keep me on point. And back to my coaching program for people. It's a way for me to get money. I can't lie to you. I can't sugarcoat it. I want a little bit more money out of this so I don't have to depend on my employer. I want to be able to walk away from this field if I wanted to one day. And this is one of the ways that I'm doing it. So before I get started, just like I'm starting my coaching program, I would encourage you to start one as well. If there's something that you know and that people want to talk to you about, people want to spend time with you talking about it, I don't think that you should be ashamed of charging a premium for that, because it places your knowledge on a proper pedestal, and it makes people take your time a lot, make people take your time seriously. So here I go. Consider this like a nod to, as a thank you for watching me so far. I'm going to keep doing my thing, and let's get started. So how to think analytically. A lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but I did get this question from the last live stream about how you should write your notes. And I was doing some thinking when I was asleep, and I was thinking, like, your notes are a direct reflection of how you're thinking. And all of this is going to bridge together as we keep going. But as you think analytically, I'm not going to tell you how to think analytically, because you can just Google that and see what that means. I'm giving you my take and my value added. So yeah, just understand that as you're reading the slide here, you should be able to share your notes, and you should be able to share your code. You should be able to share anything that is written or typed by you. That shows that you're thinking properly. And I know I'm going kind of backwards, or this is the chicken before the egg. Yeah, chicken before the egg, but it'll make sense in a minute, I promise you. Everything that you could go through, and I see this a lot, especially when people try to interact with the IPSECs of the world and the John Hammonds. You should be able to explain your complicated situation easily to another expert. And that shows that if you can't, I see people say, oh, hey, IPSEC, I got this problem and I can't get domain admin on blah, blah, blah. And he may ask, what's the problem? And the people who can't explain the problem well, they know the problem, but they can't explain it well. And so people are turned off from helping them. So all of this thinking analytically is going to solve all of these problems for you. You should be able to precisely repeat all actions. The reason I passed OSCP was because I was methodical, and I had a process for each thing that I did, especially initial access. Priv-S, well, not so much, but initial access, I had a methodical process for that. And people downplay methodical processes, but it doesn't have to be rigid. It just has to be a go-to move. If you like, I like basketball. If you're coming down the court and you have a ball in your hand, you want to get past your defender. So you need to make the precise move that will get you to the next step. And it may be fancy, but the fundamentals and the thinking behind the move were all the same. You didn't come out of left field with something. It'll make sense in a minute, I promise you. And then when you get to a more advanced level of analytical thinking, you'll be able to explain anything you do to people that don't do what you do, like people outside of your profession. And that's the beautiful thing about it. I like to use these three pillars. Now there's three pillars and there's a roof here, but bear with my corny little slide here. So if I ask, how do I gain initial access? I come up with an intent. My intent is to confirm or deny the presence of a RCE, or remote code execution vulnerability, in this content management system. Then I do a lot of Googling, and before I do Googling, I have a content management system scanner. I put the command in there, push enter, and then I have my result. intent, command, result. So there's an overlying question at the top, intent, command, result. Now, as you see on this next slide, sometimes you'll have intent, command, result, command, result, command, result, intent, but the flow after intent should be similar. That makes sense. Putting it another way, if the topics of your notes don't fall into one of these four, you're going to lose people. Now, I say that with a caveat because it may be appropriate to add extra information into what you're saying or what you're typing or what you're writing. You might want to put a note there or make it italicized or put a little footnote, etc. But this is how you should be writing essentially, and this is how you should be thinking. So an example of a bad way to do this, a bad way to think analytically. Let's just say we're looking for a cobalt strike beacon. And now I'm not an attacker anymore. I'm a defender. I'm looking for a cobalt strike beacon. So my intent is to check for network artifacts on the network. And so my command or my action, it could be either or, right? My action is to look for DNS beaconing. My action is to look for DNS over HTTP. My command or my action doesn't match my intent. Does that make sense? So if I'm looking for specifically cobalt strike, I can't look for something that may or may not be cobalt strike. I have to look for something that specifically, like unequivocally, is cobalt strike. Does that make sense? And then this is the mistake that we make all the time. We go from intending to do something to a command that have us like gives us a half-ass answer to our intent. Now, I will caveat that by saying a lot of times we don't have anything else, so we have to get a half-ass answer. If that is the case, we need to notate that. And we need to realize that our answer is still our question is still not answered, or our intent is still not met. We don't just keep going to another intent. We have to keep visiting that intent until it is either met or, hey, I can't meet this intent. If you're not there yet, I mean, you can't just keep moving on. And that's what we do a lot of times. And if you have a lot of analytics, or if you have a lot of intents in your report that go up to your boss and they're all like half-assed, like partially answered analytics, then as a defender, they're going to be like, I probably could have got my guys to do that for me. And as an attacker, if you do that, you're never going to get into the box. You're never going to get initial access because your commands are always going to keep skirting around the problem. And I have an example here. So let's say, obviously, my question here is still, how do I get initial access? Can I get initial access? My intent here is I found a JWT secret, or a JSON, not a Java web token, bro. A JSON web token secret in a script. And now I need to create a token and then use that token against the site to see if it is valid or not, to see if it works or not. So that is my intent. So if I deviate anywhere outside of that, I'm giving bad information. I'm not meeting the intent. So this is my command and my result. I put the cookie in italicized again, so you know that it is not deviating from anything. I have to designate it some kind of way so that you know that I'm breaking the chain here. And then I go back to command. The key takeaway here is, let's just say, for example, I look for, this is my intent, right? But I read an article that says, oh, by the way, there's a tool where you can brute force secrets or brute force usernames in Java Web Tokens. So I visit that, knowing that my intent is to check on this and this alone. I don't want to start inviting those ideas into what I'm doing here. I want to stay on point and see if I confirm or deny the intent. Now, that seems easy. That seems easy until you get a result like this. Now, the result here obviously is we got in, but let's just say we didn't get in. I can't then go and start on the brute forcing until I completely close this intent out. If I go back and revisit the intent, now I have 2 intents going on, and then I have 4 intents, and then before you know it, I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I ain't doing hack the box today. I'm out. So yeah, that clean analytical thinking is kind of like clean eating, bro. It's kind of like clean eating. The question is overarching. How do I get initial access? Boom, I got it. This is my intent. I'm going to scan this box for well-known content management systems. If I don't see any, that closes that out. If I don't see any, I don't then say, oh, well, let me keep looking. If I don't see anything, I close that out, and I don't reopen it until maybe I missed a port that it's another service being served on, which it ain't going to happen to me. But what I'm saying is you open your intent and you close your intent out properly. If you can't close it out properly for whatever reason in the world, you need to notate that somewhere. You need to keep up with those. They're kind of like tickets. Like some of us were in IT before we were in the cybersecurity. We dealt with tickets. We dealt with opening tickets, closing tickets. That intent is your ticket. Is it closed? No. Keep going or come back to it. But it's an open ticket. There will come a time where you have to have 2 intents open, but at some point you got to close one of them out. OSCP, it helped me for that. It helped me for the GXP, and it helped me all across my career. I can't tell you how many times keeping up with whether or not I close my intent, how much that helped me. It helps whether my brain fatigues or not, it helps all of that. And that's why I'm like, I wouldn't be presenting this to you in this corny ass slide format if this didn't work. So that's how to think. Now we're going to talk about how to learn. I owe a lot of my success to Hack the Box. I owe a lot of it to it. And I wasn't digging how people were or the status quo when I first started learning it on how people were telling me to attack Hack the Box. Basically, they were saying, man, load up a machine, connect your VPN and go at it. Go at these active boxes. Spend all night on it. Spend all week on it. Spend all month on it. I'm like, at some point I started thinking like, this is a total waste of my time. Like if I'm stuck at a place, how am I learning? So I started being kind of my time. Like if I got a spoiler, so be it. I had a spoiler. I kept moving, and at some point I was like, you know what? Active boxes are a complete waste of my time, which we'll get into that in a minute. But avoiding spoilers doesn't help you if you're a beginner. If you absolutely have no idea where to look for a local file inclusion, how it looks, etc., how is avoiding a spoiler going to help you? You need to know how that looks. You need to know how that affects that web app. And understand, this kind of is the same point. You don't need to memorize the how. You need the how right now. I had one of my I guess he wasn't a client or a customer because he wasn't paying for it, but I helped him get the OSCP. And I remember it was him and about 5 other guys, and it was me. All the other 4 guys, every time we would reach a point where they would get stuck, they were like, man, give me a hint, but I don't want the spoiler. But this one guy, he was an older guy, like he was almost my age. He would just be like, man, just give me the answer. Man, just give me the answer. And he passed OSCP with flying colors. Do you know why? Because we didn't waste his time trying to be some kind of macho man or some kind of, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to keep, beating at this thing until I figure it out. There's a time and place for that. If it's a competitive thing or if you're testing your knowledge. But if you're learning, bro, don't spin your wheels, man. Get the how and keep moving. Notate the how so that you don't get stuck at that how next time. And then ultimately, with all of this stuff, man, you need to develop a killer instinct where if there's a problem, if there's some kind of situation that I can't handle, like I couldn't tackle it, I couldn't grasp it, I'm not gonna sleep well. I'm going to be tossing and turning because that's that killer instinct inside of me. I have to seize the objective and I have to choke the hell out of it. So, and ultimately that puts me in a position as I stack all of that energy up into a certain, a certain endeavor. At some point, people start to look at my life and say, how the hell did he do that? How the hell did she do that? How the hell did he pull that off? How the hell did she get that certification and that certification and that certification? How did he score that high of a score? And that is the thing that they're looking for on those resumes. Yeah, a bachelor's degree, all that stuff. Like, there are certain things you need to get into the party. There are certain things that you need to get into the dance. An admission fee, call it. But to get, like now that you're in the social or now that you're in the party, to get the dance with the pretty lady, you need a how the hell did he do that bullet on that resume. You get that going for you and you're good. I promise you. If you can make your employer, your interviewer say, how the hell did he do that? You're in. I'm going to give you my self-teaching plan as like learning this penetration test and stuff. And if you want to steal this plan, go right ahead. If you don't like it, if you want to make tweaks to it, by all means, critiques. But this will give you an example of how when I was learning, I was very con to my time, how I kept a killer instinct, how I, instead of listening to how people were breaking their plans down, I went after my own thing, my own vision. And again, you can steal it. So when I started, I realized that trying to tackle the whole box was not it. So I only learned about initial access. I only learned about LFI, SQL injection, server-side template injection, server-side request forgery, just regular remote code executions, anything dealing with injections, entity injections, you name it. All those things. What did I say? Cross-site scripting. All those things, everything that you could think of on, what's the site? Payload, all the things. I learned about all of that. And my advice to people would be to get a Hack the Box VIP account or try Hack Me, depending on which one you're partial to. Just focus on getting initial access on as many retired machines as possible. Now, you need to read the write-up as you're doing it. Read the write-up. Ignore privilege escalation. And I put system privilege escalation because obviously there's privilege escalation in the web app in some cases. So just keep those things in mind. But be sure to do all difficulty levels. Don't ignore insane levels. Don't ignore the hard levels. Do them all. Because I assure you, some things are rated insane because of the number of steps. And some things are rated insane because of the involvement of the steps. It's just not really a solid difficulty level or system there. So, don't even just do them all. And your goal should be to get one initial access. I remember my turning point would probably have been, I don't know. It wasn't a turning point, but it was I was dusting a lot of or rust off was a trick when I got initial access on there. And that's the Hack the Box machine. But yeah. When you get your first initial access, that www data or whatever it is on Windows nowadays, that is your sign that you have successfully made it past beginner. I get a lot of spam calls, bro. But yeah, and this is a caveat or a note on the side. Ensure your TTPs are updated and current. So if you're doing like things that haven't been seen for a long, like just use OWASP top 10. If your initial access is in there, you're good. If it's not, you need to question your initial access and whether you need to learn it and be all about it. For an intermediate, you should do the same thing, but for privilege escalation. It's a little bit more involved because you have Unix, Linux, Windows, FreeBSD, all those things. And then if you're getting into like microprocessors and low level stuff, then that is a whole nother can of worms. In my profession, at my workplace, we have a position that's called a host analyst. And we have a position that's called a network analyst. I don't like those names because we have vastly evolved past the ideals that those names bring to mind. But that's not for this video. But I say that because the reason I say that is this is where, if you were a host analyst or a systems analyst, this is where you would shine because you're going through the privilege escalation bus. I guess that isn't really even appropriate for this video either, because I'm telling you about something that don't. I guess what I'm saying basically here is you're going to be all about systems. That's really all I really wanted to say. I don't even know why I went. Maybe there was a point I was trying to make there. Rely on to ensure your current. That's why I have slides in front of me, because I tend to ramble off topic, and I was about to do it there. Start from latest box. Yeah, do all of these things. Basically, you're doing the same thing here, but with that you did with initial access. Don't mind me and my little rants. I just know that I got the most enjoyment out of this portion of my my training in penetration testing, because I am a host analyst in my workplace. I guess that's what I really wanted to say there. I don't know where I was going and with that craziness there. And I think this is my final slide here. When you get more advanced, well, no, this is not my final slide, but when you get more advanced, now you want to work on persistence, lateral movement, command and control, possibly impact as well if you get a chance, but no less than 7 methods of persistence if you're a pen tester. No less. Now, it probably is more, but this is the standard that you need to meet. The standard that you need to meet. And so this will probably look like 3 unprivileged methods of persistence and 4 privileged. So you have three as the lower user, and then 4 as the root user, or all 7 as the root user. You just need some root users in there. If you only have the regular user, you're screwing up and you need to do better. But you need to practice those on the hack the box machines. The hack the box machines aren't just to like get root and flag, or at least not to me. I'm going to do everything that I can because it's my time. I'm going to even put Splunk forwarders on it and all of that stuff. I'm going to check the syslog files. If I can, if I got time, I'm going to install sysmon on them and sysinternals and do all types of analysis on what I'm doing, because I'm just like that. I'm built like that. You know, that's the killer instinct that I was talking about earlier in the slides. I'm not going to just like stay in this little weak ass box that everybody puts me in. I'm not going to do that. And these are the kind of talks that I want to have with people as I do my coaching calls. So, you know, excuse me for marketing myself, but I just got to, baby, because I believe in what I'm doing here. Sliver, and there are a bunch of free other frameworks for C2s. Download them and use them. Download them and use them. Don't wait. If you're a red teamer, don't wait to use it at work. Don't wait till your boss goes and buys license. Well, obviously, don't do anything illegal. What I basically mean by that statement is we're going to exclude Cobalt Strike and all of the paid ones. Get the free ones and work with those so that by the time a paid one comes along, you know what you're doing. I assure you they're not that different. You know, a C2 is a C2, bro. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that, or a lot of people say different things. A C2 is a C2, bro. I promise you. And the way you know that you're advanced is you're going to start to gain people that want to know what you know. People are going to start crowding around you like, man, I want to know what this guy knows. And you're going to start getting questions. People are going to start to want to spend time knowing what you know, and which is another reason why I have to go forward with this coaching program that I'm doing. It's $100. It is. But I assure you, you're going to get way more knowledge, because it is a back and forth between me and you. Boom, boom, boom. It is what it is. When you reach expert level, now you're showing your skills on a larger scale. So you're doing presentations. Obviously, don't go into DEF CON for your first presentation unless you just got nuts like that. If you got big balls like that, by all means, go for it. Like people like me, I wouldn't go into a DEF CON first. You know what I'm saying? Definitely would start small. Here we have B-sides. There are a few other cities that have B-sides. Try to go for B-sides first and then move your way up. Because I assure you, like at DEF CON, it's just like there's too much publicity. You want to make sure that you have a few presentations under your belt, or maybe you don't. I don't know. Create a GitHub, create a YouTube, create something that's going to provide value back to people and then start giving meaningful feedback. You know, sometimes feedback isn't going to be, my feedback is probably like 50% accurate. Like some of the stuff that I be saying on my videos, I go back and listen to it. I'm like, man, I was so wrong about that. But it happens. Just be willing to give the meaningful feedback and be enthusiastic about it. And then your goal here, you'll know that you made it when someone in your field who you felt was much more advanced than you will reach out and have a chat with you. This just happened to me like a few days ago. And I hear about it all the time. I follow, what's his name? Hamza. And he said, what's the guy's name? Andrew Kirby reached out to him. And so he felt like Hamza was here, Andrew Kirby was here, but Andrew Kirby reached out to him. So that was Hamza's, flag or his whole thing saying, hey, man, now we're on the same level. That's that handshake. They're like, hey, bro, you're here now. This is how you have to conduct business. You will get this when you reach this expert level. And so, like, I don't know, at your situation, if people aren't hiring you or people aren't taking you seriously or whatever the case, don't worry about none of that. When you hit that goal, then you know you're there. You ain't got to worry about nothing else. So this is a preview of what it would be like if me and you chatted for $100 for $99.99. This is what it would be like. Now, obviously, it would be much more tailored to you. Probably your resume would be up. Probably the things you've done, the things you want to do, like your degrees, your certs, and all of that stuff. The ways that you're thinking. That's one thing that I really try to focus on with people, though, because I know a lot of smart people, but because they kind of hack, like, man, they hack so sloppy. Like when we see them get into like their hack the box mode or their OSCP mode, their thinking is all over the place. They don't have a clean analytical thinking. So it's just everywhere. And so even though they're smarter, man, I have an example, as a matter of fact. I know this guy, man. I don't want to say his name because I'm going to embarrass him, but smart as a whip. He's smarter than me. I assure you he's smarter than me. Probably twice as smart as me. Gets on the OSCP, and instead of doing his Mmap scan like I taught him, like Mmap Tech SS to get your ports and then only scanning those ports, he goes and does some kind of scan where he gets so much stuff back. He gets not only the closed ports, but the open ports. So he has open and then open filtered. And he goes down each port and tries to enumerate each port. And so when he's not getting results back for the open filtered ports, he's like, what's going on? And I tell him, I'm saying, like, open filtered is nothing. It's nothing to you. Don't keep going. Either open filtered or filtered. One of the two. It was one of the two. And he went for it all. And his Mmap scan was crazy because and I guess he didn't think about it on the exam, but Mmap doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mmap goes 22. No, Mmap goes 80, 443, 22, 53, or something like that. The commonly used ports come first. And none of that clicked in his mind because he was just all over the place. He's like, boom. And so as smart as he is, he's getting paper now. Like, he's good. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's doing really well for himself. So he's good. But the OSCP kind of whooped on him a little bit because that clean analytical thinking wasn't there. And so that's what I would offer to you. If you want to know what I would offer to the public, if I sat down with you or anyone else for an hour and we sat and chopped it up. Now, obviously, there are going to be some people that aren't ready for the OSCP and you're going to need to just know how to be a beginner and get into this thing. I got you as well. I just really need to know your needs and I got you. Other than that, if that ain't your thing, if private coaching ain't your thing, just keep sticking around, like and subscribe and comment if you need to know anything or have any questions. And I'm going to keep the videos rolling. Ain't nothing changing over here. We just expanding the operations over here, baby. And it's all good. I love you guys. I like the enthusiasm you guys come with the live streams. I'm feeling that. I'm going to keep digging that like I always do. I appreciate all of the congrats for the 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to get out of here, man. You guys take care. And we out.